All right. So good to see everybody. Um, Welcome to our Tuesday morning meditation and spiritual practice session. And what I'd like to begin is to talk a little bit about emotion. And you know, obviously, in our day, emotions, different kinds of feelings, both desirable and undesirable, are a part of our world and a part of ourselves. Um, and sometimes those emotions, our emotional life is very high, and we're experiencing a lot of feelings in one direction or another. And sometimes it's fairly low, and we might not be as aware of what is going on. But what I want to suggest is that even when we have a sense of our emotional life being low, um, that it's still going on, that there still is that there still is feelings, realities, these things that we call emotions are happening. And I think part of I don't I'm gonna speak hopefully for everybody who's watching here. I can say that it's definitely true for me, is that when I start to experience emotions that are uncomfortable, I want it to stop right away. And usually I will do any sort of strategies that I may have to not have to feel whatever it is. Those strategies can be escapist kind of things, whether it's watching TV or anything. It could be that I react towards other people that have nothing to do with the emotions that are going on in an attempt. I don't think about it at the time, but what I, upon further reflection, will reflect that in some way I'm trying to process inappropriately the feeling that's going on inside me with somebody else, which I'm not conscious of, and they didn't ask for, and any of that. But it's kind of my attempt to try to work through whatever it is that's going on. And there's a radical direction that I want to suggest, and that we can definitely bring it into our meditation practice as it arises, and that is to fully accept and embrace whatever the experience that we're having, whatever the emotional reality is that's going on. In kind of the same way of you're kind of looking at a cold body of water to jump in, and you're thinking, I don't want to jump into that. And then you just make the decision, I'm just going for it. And you just jump in and you feel it and you go in it, and you do it, you commit, and you come into it. And that's really what I want to offer. um, there was an incredible Jewish spiritual master that lived during the Holocaust, and was actually the Rebbe of many, many Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto. His name was Kalonymus Kalman Shapira of Piaseczna. He's also known as the Piaseczna Rebbe. And his teaching was very, I would say that he is one of the strongest Jewish meditation teachers, meaning that there were few Hasidic masters or meditation teachers, especially in the last couple of centuries, not during this modern time where meditation is a thing, but who actually taught kind of the details of how to pay attention, inside, outside, in a holy way. So I want to read to you one of his teachings. He says, there are, and again, I know that you guys, I've touted this book series, this 2-volume book series. It's from the second volume of A New Hasidism in Roots and Branches. And there's a really wonderful article by James Jacobson Meisel, called Neo-Hasidic meditation. He's actually, you'll be in the next month probably, there's going to be information coming out about our spiritual trip to Israel that is in the fall, scheduled for the fall of 2021, with all hopes that that will be a reality. But James Jacobs Meisels, who wrote this article, is scheduled to be our meditation teacher over Shabbat for a mini retreat up at Kibbutz Hanaton. So the teaching is from Rabbi Kalanimus Kalman Shapira, not from James Meisels, but he includes it in his article. He says, there are many emotions whose opening is like a drip, weak and slight. But if one were to expand one of them and actualize it, it would become a great river and stream of water that would never dry up. Now, when I first read that, I was almost thinking from the fact of that would be a bad thing. That would be a bad thing. If there's emotions that are like a drip and weak, that means that it's not as uncomfortable. And if it was like a great stream and river of water, it would be consuming, but it's going to go a different direction. He says, and if one does not expand it, it will be lost without ever seeing the light of day. Sometimes, for example, a person feels some discomfort within, and he doesn't know if he needs to eat, sleep, drink alcohol, and the feeling disappears just as it came. And in truth, it was kind of an extension outward of one of the limbs of the soul that desired to be actualized and to be aware with pure consciousness. Okay, this is amazing. The emotions that we feel are in truth an extension outwards of one of the limbs of the soul that desired to be actualized and be aware with pure consciousness. So too is this the case sometimes with the feeling of joy or something similar. Because this emotion was not grasped in its corporal garment, for a limb of the pure soul was extended, a person therefore doesn't know what it is and what he feels inside himself. All right, he says, because the emotion wasn't grasped in its corporal garment, because we weren't able to pay attention to how it really is manifesting and being experienced in our body, our corporal garment. We don't know what it is and what we feel inside ourselves. It was a kind of rattling and convulsion of the soul. And he drinks alcohol, eats, or does some other worldly thing. It's not that through this he quiets the soul convulsions. It is only that he inflames and incites his bodily feelings to roar and thunder, and the voice of the soul is not heard. Okay, so this is an amazing thing. When we experience some kind of emotional reality, whatever it is, it's a limb of our soul that is desiring to be made aware of, to actualize, to understand what its nature is. And if we don't pay attention to it, if we try to distract ourselves from it in some kind of way, the result is not actually that it goes away, that what he says. It doesn't quiet these soul convulsions, but it only, he says, inflames the bodily feelings, that in some ways that emotion is going to make itself manifest in our bodies in some particular way. And the result will be, though, is we will not hear the voice of the soul that's in it, right? The emotion is going to make itself known in one way or another. We can either ignore it and not be able to hear what is deep that is trying to make itself known, and as a result, we will experience some kind of roar and thunder of our bodies, something that will feel negative, will have consequences that maybe we don't want, whatever it is. But if we instead choose to pay attention, to welcome, to open, to look deeply into it, then we can actually hear what is emerging. So this is an amazing, this is this teaching of radical openness, what we've called radical embrace. That sense when we do the four worlds meditation and breathing in and out of the heart, of almost like the arms that are open that says, whatever our experience is, I'm here for it. That's all really easy when our experiences are neutral or there's something positive. But when there's something really uncomfortable, that's where part of us says, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm going to open and welcome this. No, thank you. But what he's saying is that the presence of God is wanting to make itself manifest in this experience. One more little piece from here. He has a book called, this is the Piasetzner Rebbe, called B'nai Machshava Tova, which was translated, put into English by a woman, Andrea Cohen-Kiner, and she called it Conscious Community. I'd love to study this book together. It's really about how we create a fellowship, like we're doing here on our Tuesday morning, of seekers that are dedicated to helping support each other in this growing of awareness. And he says, concerning this, our fellowship adjures and declares to each one of our fellows, know how to look. Concerning everything that occurs within you and without, know how to look. We bring forth and birth the form of the thing until there will be a form that we can gaze upon. And that's an interesting statement right there. We bring forth and birth the form of the thing until there will be a form that we can gaze upon. Meaning that sometimes it's not really clear what the emotional reality that's going on. It's murky, it's whatever it is. And we continue to bring our attention even to that murkiness. And he says, know how to look at it, bring it, birth it forward, let it come forth until a clarity emerges, until we can gaze upon it. He says, perhaps you will find a hidden God and the holiness of his glory. And when you seek him out, you will find him. Where will you find him? In you and in all of your surroundings. It's also an amazing thing to note, just as a side, about Rabbi Kalonymus Coleman Shapira, the Piasetzner Rebbe, is that he was given the opportunity to leave the Warsaw Ghetto, to be able to come to the United States. And he chose to stay because he was committed to being there for his flock, for his Hasidim, for the people that were suffering in there. That for him, that was where he needed to be. So, a spiritual master who lived his teachings till the end. Okay, so want to invite you to get into a comfortable position that you can sit for a period of time. You can close your eyes. And begin by just being aware of the movement of breath, noticing where the air enters the nostrils or the mouth. Feel the gentle expanse with the inhale, noticing the chest and the belly, shoulders expanding. And then follow the air out on the exhale, noticing how the body contracts as the air leaves the body. Noticing that moment where the exhale reaches its maximum length and switches over to an inhale. And then follow the cycle again. Again, connecting in with your desire to be present, to grow, to open. letting that desire drive your attention here into the present moment. As you breathe, notice the position of your body in space, the contact of your feet on the floor, your bottom on the cushion or the seat, the distance between the bottom of your spine and the top of your head, the space between your ears. Be aware of the air that touches your face or your skin on your arms or your hands or your feet. As you pay attention to the movement of breath and body, notice the sounds that fill the space, inside your space, outside your space. Allow yourself to be open and let your attention be soft and flexible and open to all of it at once. Breath, body, sound. The divine symphony, every part of your experience, an instrument, and you can listen to it all, hear it all. And as you pay attention to this symphony, also notice your heart area. Notice the breath going in and out of your heart area. And with that in and out of the heart, let yourself have an attitude of embrace, of openness, completely open. Everything in this moment, body, breath, sound, anything in your own inner world, total openness. I'm here for it all. Here for it all. Piaseczna Rebbe says, know how to look. Know how to look. How do we look at, how do we open to our experience moment by moment with the knowledge that at the source of it all is the Holy One? That no matter what we are experiencing, that the presence is within. Nothing is a distraction. Everything is filled with that presence. Even if our minds are buzzing with thoughts that we call monkey mind, all those thoughts, all that energy, all those images, those concepts that are present in our field of awareness are also filled with divine energy. Allow yourself to open deeper to the energy behind it. Not paying attention to the story, but instead the energy. Let it into your heart. I'm going to be quiet for a period of time. And I invite us to be with the divine symphony, to be present with everything in our field of awareness, letting all of it be here and now, to have a open embracing of everything inside us and outside of us, to know how to look, to be reminded of the divine presence that is in everything, and that our openness, our desire to be present with what is here and now, is our desire to be present with the Holy One. Hi, da, 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 da. Ya, da, 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 ya, da, da, da. Ya, da, 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 da. Ya, da, 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 da. Ya, da, 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 da. Ya, da, 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 ya, da, da, da. Ya, da, 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da da. Ya da ya da da da. Ay ay ay. Ya da 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 da. Ya da da. Ya da 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 ya da da da. Ay ay ay. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ay ay ay. Ya da ya da da da. Ay ay ay. Ya da 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 da. Ay ay ay. Ya da 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 ya da da da. Ay ay ay. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. So you can take a few breaths and bring yourself back. And would love to hear any questions or reflections on either the meditation practice or this sense about working with our emotional body. And what do you think?
It rang a bell with me, and it's so nice to be able to share without gossiping. So I'll just keep it just in the outer space. But when I'm angry with someone having done something, I'm like a pillar of flame. I just am really enraged. And if I have an opportunity to meditate, because I do it throughout the day when need be, and if I do have that opportunity, I come out of it and I still realize the annoyance and I can think about it without all the anger. And I can think about, take a look at it and take it even a step further. Sometimes I realize that the anger I'm projecting against somebody or something is something that I've done myself too. And it kind of makes you realize, we're just human. We just have similar reactions to
Yeah.
things.
And Kathy, what is it about that moment? So you're the pillar of flame. I love that. You're the pillar of flame, and then you take some time to pay attention, to meditate. What is it about that process that allows you to have more space around whatever it is that's going on, and a more ability to reflect on that you're human just like they are, and all of those things that you just said?
I think it's an awareness because I grew up in a household that was very energetic in a somewhat negative way. And so it's really, you just go back to those habits.
Mhm.
So get your two dukes up, ready to fight it out.
Yeah.
And so if I can pull myself away from that, and that's what the meditation is so helpful to me, just to calm that a little bit so I can then take a look and think.
Beautiful. I don't know if you experience this, but I think that even in the decision, in the middle of being consumed with anger, in the to make the decision to meditate instead of doing, trying to let that anger, just the flame, consume everything that's around. Just even the decision to say, I'm going to close my eyes, is already projecting a certain kind of awareness. Even the decision is basically saying, there is a bigger reality here than just my anger. And I want to try to move into that greater reality. So even just the intention is already reflecting an awareness of a greater reality. And a lot of what I think meditation practice does, consistent meditation practice, which I know you experience, Kathy, is that it allows you, even in that moment of being that pillar of flame, to have that inkling of awareness in the back that there's something bigger than this. There's something bigger, and I can work through it, that I can be with it. Thank you. Other thoughts. I think there's another piece of here which I want to make sure that people get before I saw you, Sue, before people get, which is that, okay, so the first step is to just decide to turn our attention inside, to pay attention, to meditate. And that's a huge step to even do it. So then when we sit there and we do it, how do we sit there and be with what's going on, in a way that allows it to subside, as opposed to just raging and ravaging? So that's a question I want to hold. And but Sue, you had your hand up, and I just want to say I can't see everybody's hands in this spotlight video that we're using for the streaming. So Sue will go next, but feel free to just unmute yourself and speak. So go ahead, Sue.
Well, maybe what you just said touches on my question, but a few weeks ago during our meditation with you, and I might have misunderstood this because I thought about it a lot afterwards, and it didn't quite make sense with the paradigm that we've talked about so far, with embracing everything that we encounter during our meditations. But it was one of the participants said something, and you said that it's not good to take an intention into meditation because it could have the reverse effect. Or do you remember what you were talking about?
No.
Okay. Well, I must have misheard it, because this makes a lot of sense to me today about releasing something and following it to its fullness, and the idea that we've always had of the embracing our whole universe of consciousness while we're meditating. Okay, I'm sorry. It must have been something that it just didn't click for me, and I probably just didn't hear it right.
Well, I'm glad you took the opportunity to clarify it. No, really, with our intention coming into our practice is so important. The intention to say, and we talked about it, about letting your intention flow from your desire, right? Your desire to connect, to be present, to deepen, to grow, all of these things that drive us to be here together today. But when we can tap in and feel that desire, that is what gives our intention to be present, to be open, to be all of those things. And that intention is what drives our practice. The thing that I want to add is, okay, so we have that intention to sit in the middle of a difficult emotion. One of the key pieces in order to, as the Piasetzner says, to know how to look. How do you relate to that difficult emotion? How do you look at it? And one of the core teachings is to let go of the story, right? Because in any of our experience of whatever's going on, any difficult emotions, there's always a narrative around it. There's always a story. So there's the difficult, there's the reality in our bodies and whatever. And then what drives and fuels that, whether it's anger, whether that's despair, whatever the difficult feeling is a whole story, around our reality, around maybe it involves another person, what they are doing, what people in the country are doing, what, anything that's happening, or even on ourselves, a story about ourselves. And so the key here, knowing how to look, is, can I let go of the story, and just pay attention to the experience in the body of the feeling? And as we know, when we also talk about our meditation practice, it's more about being able to expand our attention to include everything. So we might say that, well, there's the story also, there's the feelings that's going on, there's the story that's in the head. The problem is that the story is what wants to pull our attention completely to it, and contracts our attention only to the story, not to the reality of what's happening in our body. And so if we're able to expand and really feel what's happening in our body, let the story, it can be there, but it fades into the background. It's not the main piece of our intention. Then we can begin to feel like, okay, let me look. Right now the emotion is murky. I'm angry, I'm upset, here it is. And I'm paying attention, and I feel the tightness in here and here, and I'm just going to be with that. And I know that Hashem, that the Holy One, is here in this, that this is a limb of my soul, as he puts it, that is trying to reach forward and make itself known. How do I be with that in that? How do I welcome it? How do I have an attitude that says, I want to learn from this? And it's just this curiosity and this openness, and come right in. Can we be with it in that way? And we watch how it transforms.
I'd like to share a couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead, Marla.
When you were setting the whole meditation up, I was reminded of a book I read once, written by a psychiatrist, that said that when we bury emotions, we bury them alive. And that's what reminded me of the whole story that you told, the whole Hasidic story that you told. And then also, I did a guided meditation with Joe the other day, because now that he works at home, he meditates every day around 2:00. He takes a break. It's really nice. I don't always do it with him. I usually meditate in the morning, but he put on a Tara Brach meditation. That's his favorite meditation teacher. And I had never heard this one. And at the end, it was so beautiful. I just want to share it. She says, life is the many pieces of that great heart loving itself back together. And I just had never heard, I don't know, rarely have heard such words put together that just moved me so much. And I feel that facing these difficult emotions, that we have the ability to put the pieces of our heart back together. And of course, the famous Rumi poem about, was it the guests, welcoming all guests?
Yes.
Very, very much like the Rebbe, and like you're teaching today. So I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. It's beautiful. Any last comments? Questions?
I wanted to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the meditation, although I find it really hard to meditate.
Yes.
I mean, I liked what you had to say about the, I should have taken some notes, but about burying the emotions alive. I thought that was a very good one. And I thought that, yeah, it just really, I learned a lot from this meditation. It's just very hard to stay focused sometimes. But I went outside today, and usually when the garbage trucks come, it really bothers me a lot. But here I am outside, and they came by, and I was meditating. It didn't really bother me that much.
All right. That's beautiful.
So I learned a lot, though. I really appreciate it.
Good. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
And, and again, just the reminder that that meditation is a practice, right? It's not a way to, it's not something that you do well or you don't do well. It's a practice. And the analogy that works for me so great is, you go into the gym, and you go into the gym because you want to stay healthy and you want to stay strong. And, you can, there's no place of, if you can't lift 50 pounds and you can only lift 15 or 20, that's perfect. That's just where you're at. And that's perfect. And what's most important is that you show up. You don't have some image in your mind that says, okay, my workout has to look like this and I have to do this. And if I don't do this, then it's not successful. We bring that, a lot of us can bring that same attitude to meditation. We have this idea that it means that our minds are clear and there are this and that, and we have all this sense, and then we experience the reality of the moment and it doesn't match that piece. And so we feel like a failure, but really it's just a practice. It's a practice to show up, and just the very act of making the decision to say, I want to be open, I want to be present with what's here, and I'm gonna continue to attempt to do that regardless of what the outcome is. That right there is already moving us along the path. That is the growing, that is the learning. So it's just showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, thank you so much.
The rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye.
Thanks, Rabbi.